like be able to compete with the absolute best players in Europe. Whereas I step away for 2.5 days and my hands feel like 2 cement mixers. And I'm like, okay, well, that seems fair. But anyways, spawning up at the top left, it is a very talented Protoss, GunGFuBanDa.
And his opponent down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Site Delta. We're looking inside of the main base of Spirit.
I know that that wasn't the intention, but it looks like as Wardy did the intro there, it looks like he shook his head with the camera. I'm like, very talented Protoss. And he's like, no,
whoa.
I disagree.
Subliminal messaging right here by our observer. I can't believe it. Well, we'll have to see what this probe is going up to, though. Are we just going to send it across? All right, we're just going to do cheeky little block, maybe?
I feel like... Yeah, okay. Yeah, the positioning on that, I was like, that's got to be a proxy second gate, right?
Yeah.
No, just a... Oh, you know what? He looked around his third base for a proxy Brax Reaper or something. Okay. And then it was just normal scouting patterns. Yeah, sometimes we're not like... Even still, the maps are relatively new. So, you know, certain scouting patterns aren't as common necessarily. We haven't seen them as much. Basically, what I'm saying is that I've lost my passion and that I don't know the game as well.
I can't believe you took a holiday. Honestly, I'm offended. You took a holiday for like a week and a half or something. Honestly, no passion. We all know that StarCraft guys, maybe 3 days around Christmas, but that's about all you get, Steadfast.
Yeah. And if you're Wardy, you actually just run a tournament on Christmas too, and you just that
you just have a Christmas themed event. Absolutely,
yep.
Yeah. So that's what we're expecting this year from you as well.
Oh no! I'll get my Santa hat. I've already got the belly, you know, and I'm very jolly, very jovial.
You've been working on that one. That's smart, then.
Yeah. We'll call it that. We'll call it work.
Alrighty, GunGFu opening up standard so far, nothing all too crazy. We do have ourselves an adept coming across the map, and it's going to be that Twilight Council. So broadly speaking, in this matchup, Protoss players, about 50% of the time we see them going into a Stargate, and the other 50% of the time, usually it's going to be a Twilight Council. Different preferences for different maps and for different players, of course, as well. So the first adept now goes across the map, but luckily there's enough space inside of that bunker for the 2 SCVs as well.
Yes, there is. That's a little... Okay, no, he didn't put it back on. I was going to say, he didn't... He pulled the SCV off of the command center for a moment. Meanwhile, oh my god, the Reaper picks up 2 kills on the other side of the map. Damn!
Yeah,
will get killed off, but that's fantastic early game. And did he get the scout on the Twilight Council? He sure did. And you best believe he clicked on that. That's a really good start here for Spirit.
Absolutely. So he will know that, well, there's still a couple different options, but the most likely choice is going to be that Blink Stalker start. Will it be 2 gateways, 3 gateways, 4 gateways? Only time will really tell. A lot of different variations for this particular opener, as we already do have a robo facility coming up right now for GunGFu. So he'll probably be playing a more macro-focused style with maybe a bit of aggression on the other side of the map as well, right? So players like, for example, MaxPac seem to be very fond of going for 4 gateways. Nobody else really finds that much value with it anymore, but there's a lot of potential with these openers, right? And the main advantage is that you can also be safe against a lot of stuff, as we do actually have, well, 4 gateways in total.
Yeah, and that's going to be really interesting because we've got a, as our wonderful observer points out, we've got a quick cloaked Banshee. And in this scenario, you do get an observer, but you usually want to send it across the map in order to give you information on where your opponent's tanks are, where you can jump with those Blink Stalkers. If this goes unscouted, and there's no shield battery, we could see a ton of damage coming in while this 4-gate is trying to find value. We could potentially see Spirit, like, maybe even just win the game outright with those Banshees. Could be very difficult, but of course, we are going to need to see Spirit defending against this 4-gate Blink, and he already starts the second bunker in the natural. I like this setup so far, but obviously, 4-gate Blink has a lot of potential.
Absolutely. Yeah. The only downside is that guys like MaxPax have had so much success with it that everybody's gotten very good at it too, you know, at defending it, I mean. So, like, this is one of those attacks that Spirit has been playing against for a long time. He should be able to manage it reasonably well at the very least. Now, the Banshee is hanging out in the bottom section of the map for now, mostly just using them in a very defensive measure. Second Banshee is gonna, yeah, join with the first. Are we gonna really use them defensively here?
That seems so strange. There is going to be a blink into the main base very shortly. That is from GunGfu. Oh, no, that was the War Prism. I looked at the main map and I was like, oh, he's going to go for it. No, it was just the War Prism. Interestingly, though, GunGFuBanDa is playing this like completely non-committally. He's barely made any stalkers at all, only 5, and has gone straight into a robotics bay and a third base. So, I mean, this is actually kind of great for GunGfu because Spirit committed to 3 bunkers. He kept those Banshees at home. He could even take damage from this 4-stalker hit squad, and he is going to take a fair bit, it seems like. Now, the Cloak Banshees, though, they could still find a lot of value.
All the signs pointed towards a 4-gateway opener right here from GunGfu, which it was, but then he never committed to it, so Spirit prepared against a 4-gateway opener, which it was, but then GunGfu decided to just plant down a third base instead, which is kind of an interesting sequence of events. Now, bunch of probes going down right here to those strangely timed Banshees. These are units that normally show up a little bit earlier than this, but you can tell that even with a bit of an anti-timing, they still put in a ton of work. One more probe at least. There we go. That's 10 workers going down. And this is what you were talking about, right? This is the moment where Spirit can start skyrocketing ahead when it comes to the supply count. Now he's finishing up Stim Pack, combat shields, +1 infantry weapons. Banshees aren't even done yet. This is going from bad to worse right now for GunGfu. I mean, there's going to be a really nice timing attack coming up right here for Spirit.
As Serral would say, it's gone from worst to worst. And yeah, this is just not a good situation. Even if there wasn't a timing attack, even if Spirit was just macroing, just pumping SCVs the whole time, he is going to throw down a third command center. But even if there wasn't a big attack coming, this would still be a difficult situation for GunGFuBanDa. But with this Stim, combat shields, +1 timing, this 7-ish minute push, I am really scared for GunGfu. He just now starts up charge. He doesn't have extended thermal lance, nor does he have it on the way, and there are a couple of tanks here. This looks really, really tough to deal with.
Ooh, don't lose a stalker. Okay, at the very least, he deals a bit of damage and then blinks away. Yeah, this is going to be a really scary attack here. There is a Colossus or 2 in the mix. That is nice. One of them is, I think, inside of that War Prism. But this is still so much damage that can be done here by the Terran. Oh my god, yeah, you got to back off.
Oh, no, not the War Prism.
Falls.
Oh. He put it into its phase mode. That is a big mistake. Cost him a lot. I am really surprised by this from Spirit. He actually splits off 2 medevacs. It's not that I hate the move. It's that I don't think it's necessary. I think if he moves those tanks up behind the rocks, I think he can get a lot done. He scans the main base, sees that there's stalkers there. Okay, no, he's not going to back off. He's going to join up with more units here. Now, this is a great observer here from GunGFuBanDa. He sees where the army is, knows exactly what's coming, but he also sees how terrifying this army is, and that's got to be a little bit discouraging.
Third command center, in the meantime, has finished up at home, so Spirit is going to play at least somewhat macro here on the back of this, as he does blink forward. GunGfu, that is. He decides to go after the siege tanks. 2 of them have gone down already, but still so much bio is left over. And these Colossi, I mean, they are so vulnerable. One of them has already gone down. I don't know if there's enough bio Terran here available to still continue fighting. He's thinking about going into the main base, and you know what? I don't mind it. There are still units waiting, though, over here. Blink almost gets one of the full meta effects, but Spirit decides to back off once again.
That observer on the right side spotted that move, and that's a very good play. But GunGFuBanDa is still down 30 army supply. Warpin does help out a little bit here. But GunGFuBanDa, that was such an aggressive blink forward, and it did not pay off. And now the Colossus is going to go down. The lack of extended thermal lance is a big problem. Even with the target fire on those Marines, GunGFuBanDa just did not have the army. And Spirit will take a crushing victory in game number 1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was pretty one-sided, all things considered. I mean, I like that GunGfu decided, okay, this 4-gate opener, it's not really going to work out, so instead I'll just play a macro game. But then, I mean, a relatively simple move with 2 Banshees coming across the map was really the beginning of the end right there, right? I mean, they got like a dozen worker kills, which is really a dozen more than they should be allowed to get. And yeah, that was unfortunate right there for the Protoss player. And from there on out, he had to play defensively the entire time. And Spirit just, yeah, didn't really make any mistakes.
No. I really love the game plan from GunGFuBanDa. Like, it feels like he was like, okay, I'm going to go 4-gate blink, Spirit. You're going to over-defend. And then Spirit was like, you're going to play 4-gate blink. I'm gonna over defend. Like it was like he Jedi mind tricked him, and then Spirit was like, Spirit just had like 2 guns on his side, and he just like pulled the trigger, the Banshees, and it was just like, oh, okay, well,
yeah,
Jedi mind trick's great until you get like blasted in the stomach. Like it just, yeah.
I could also just salvage my bunkers. It wasn't really that big.
Yeah,
of a deal.
exactly. It's like the opportunity cost is obviously big, 300 minerals at a time, but like you said, he can get that money back, and it does still cost GunGfu to go for those gateways, delays the third nexus, all that jazz. If those Banshees don't get damage done, I think GunGFuBanDa comes out of that in a great position.
No, absolutely. If the Banshees would not have been able to kill that many workers, I think it would have been really nice for the Protoss, and that follow-up attack from Terran would not have looked nearly as scary. Either way, game number 2. We find ourselves on Alcyone. See, now I can't even say the correct map name anymore. We're looking at none other than GunGFu's main base.
And his opponent spawning up at the top right, getting it done with the 2 Top Gun pilots. The Banshee Man for Psystorm Gaming, it's Spirit.
The Banshee Man.
There's the Reaper Man, but this time it was the Banshee Man. And
last week we had the Robo Kid.
Ooh, who was the Robo Kid?
Who was dubbed the Robo Kid again? I don't remember exactly. I think it was something that... oh, it was Arrow-Fire. Yeah, Arrow-Fire was dubbed the Robo Kid. That was a good name.
Yeah, that is the perfect nickname for the
Robo Kid.
Yeah. I came up with a couple of nicknames for some of the Korean Zergs. I have Dark as the Miracle Zerg.
Okay.
Because he's the player that always turns these impossible games into just unbelievable victories. And then I think the other one was Solar as like the Predator Zerg, because he's just so lethal and bloodthirsty, and he just comes in with some very sick timings. But,
so what would you name GunGfu or Spirit? Do you have any nicknames for them?
So GunGfu is the Bio Protoss, because for me, back in the day, I don't know if this holds true anymore, but he always used to play Protoss like he was a Bio Terran. He loved charge lots. Yeah. He loved really heavy gateway compositions. He moved his army with so much confidence, like it was a Bio army. Now we're going back like 2, 3, 4 years, but that's what it really felt like. Spirit is... So if Thorzane was the Spoon Terran, I guess Spirit's the Spork Terran.
All right. Why?
Well, he kills his opponent slowly, but he's much more versatile.
There you go. I feel like he has had a bit more killer instinct, though. Like, normally we schedule about an hour, maybe an hour 45, or sorry, an hour 15 or so for, a best of 5 series like this one. In the past, I feel like if Spirit was involved in a best of 5, we probably should schedule about twice that much time. But these days, I feel like he's got, he's got a little bit more of that killer instinct. Like, usually in the past, he's like, okay, I'm ahead right now. Let's make a command center. Okay, I'm still ahead. Perfect. Let's make another command center. Is this probe? All right, in a little bit of trouble. Where's the adept? Okay, it's finally going to show up, but that's still 2 workers once again.
Yeah, this is a really great start. We do have a counterattack on the other side of the map. Oh my God. 3 probes early on is so much damage. Did the Adept get anything on its side? No. It is forced a little bit of lost mining time, but he doesn't actually get any kills. And last game, it was a good start for Spirit. This game, it is pretty much an equivalently good start, because he did get that scouting probe initially in game number 1, and now he even sees that it is a Phoenix with that first Reaper. It got a 4th kill as well. Wow. Oh man, Spirit is just kind of muscling through at this point.
Tried to get the Warcraft 3 surround on the Reaper there in the end, right? Didn't quite get it, but almost did lose the 5th probe as well. This is not the start you're hoping for at all, especially as somebody who's opening up with Phoenixes too. I mean, Phoenixes are nice at like not losing the game, right? And usually there's like moments where they can be very powerful. Oh no, first one of mine is gonna get a hit in as well. That's unfortunate. Can we lift it up at least and get it? Okay. I don't think he's gonna get it.
No, don't lose it. Don't lose it. Don't lose it.
Oh,
okay, he keeps it alive. Oh, the Viking shadow. The shadow of the Viking right there was like looming. I was like, I know it's coming out. It's gonna be here soon.
I didn't want to commit too far right there. Apparently, he didn't care that much about the Widowmine, but Yeah, certainly not a bad beginning right here for Spirit.
No, honestly, even losing the Widow Mine for that amount of damage on the first Phoenix is not even bad for the Terran. Like, I think you're more than okay. Obviously, you're thrilled if you get the kill, but it feels like how many Cyclones has he gone up to? Okay, 2 Cyclones. Is he gonna go for more?
No.
He stopped there, but this is still gonna be a push that has a little bit of teeth to it.
Absolutely. Spirit is going to be moving across the map, and this is obviously before any of the splash damage units are really available here for Protoss. There is an Immortal coming up, which is not a bad tool, but he doesn't even really need to go that far. We have an Observer here scouting out everything, so at least GunGfu knows what he has to deal with. He's going to go for the third Nexus, it seems, at the Triangle location. Yeah, does not really want to be pushing it in the direction of where that Bio Army is currently going. But there's the Stimpack, there's the combat shields, I think, on the back of this too, and +1 infantry weapons is going to be firing up. There it is. So this is once again Spirit lining up an attack that did so much damage in the previous game, but obviously those upgrades aren't done yet. 1 Cyclone goes down, 2nd Cyclone, okay, also gets sniped, and GunGfu having a much better defense here so far this time around.
Yeah, and this is actually pretty nice for GunGfu. Oh, can Spirit get that Phoenix? He needs to get it at least, okay. But this is a huge cleanup for GunGFuBanDa. This is something that a lot of players don't do these days anymore, and that's committing to a fair number of adepts to fight that early game army of the Terran. And I feel like Spirit didn't read what GunGFuBanDa was doing, because if he knows that GunGfu is committed to that number of early gateway units that really don't transition well, he gets off the map. But GunGFuBanDa catches Spirit staying a little bit too late, a little bit too long, and he finds himself a great fight. And now GunGfu's kind of a little bit in control of this mid game.
Absolutely. Yeah, at the very least, it's going to make it easier for him right now to make that transition towards the Colossi. Generally speaking, we see that attack coming up with those 3 upgrades on the right side of the production tab of the Terran finishing, right? And usually that's going to be the moment where we have the first Colossus out, and it's a very delicate dance. Spirit can still go for that attack, but getting the Widow Mines. Okay, very nicely done. Okay, now he's getting a little overly ambitious, and he does keep it alive. What? All right,
that is
flirting with death.
So nice.
Yeah, that is absolutely massive. Anyways, I was going to say this time around that attack here from the Terran is going to be so much weaker than a quote-unquote normal timing push here. I don't even know if he's going to move out. No, I don't think he should. He lost too much.
Yeah, and he's building a 3rd command center and a very quick 2nd starport. 2nd starport before the 4th and 5th barracks.
Yeah.
He thinks, okay, he has to be thinking that GunGFuBanDa is going double Stargate Phoenix. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, right? Like, that is such a big commitment going for this early 2nd starport, but GunGfu is actually not even committing to that many. Well, okay, no, it's 7 Phoenix, but he's got his charge and +1 weapons already on the way. Like, this is a very normal transition from GunGfu. I'm really curious how this is going to turn out from Spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Spirit does have the 3rd CC, right? So he's not completely all in or whatever. He's going into the Ghost Academy here as well, which is going to be really nice when it comes to improving his unit composition. So it's not like he is completely, YOLOing into massive Viking production. Maybe he's thinking, okay, I'm a little bit behind in this department. It's likely going to be a Colossus transition. Maybe I can catch up against both the Phoenixes as well as the Colossi. Maybe catch my opponent off guard a little bit, but you're definitely right. That is a very quick 2nd starport. So now finally, by the way, the 2 additional barracks are done.
Yes, yeah, and the funny thing about this is that he also added a Ghost Academy, and normally you want all 5 barracks and the Tech Lab done to pop out 3 ghosts at once. Yeah. But that Tech Lab is just now completing on the 3rd barrack, so it's a little bit of a funky setup. Now, I will say that this is going to be a very strong push from Spirit. This feels almost like a really dedicated 3-base all-in. Even though he's gotten the gases on that 3rd base, this is so many Vikings to commit to. Now they do get revealed. They get a Phoenix. I don't know. This is going to be tough for GunGFuBanDa to deal with, and oh, that's kind of cute, just landing those Vikings. They've already been revealed, so why not get an Adept or 2?
So immediately GunGfu is done making any Colossi. He only really made 2 in this game. Extended Thermal Lens is going to finish up as well momentarily, but he's making a pivot here towards double upgrades and Storm as well. So rather than committing too heavily into the units that will just get, well, popped by the Vikings one at a time. Yeah, now we're going to be at an awkward moment where Spirit has got 12 Vikings, but what do you do with them, right? Because if you land them all, sure, they can join in a battle, but once they're all dead, that opens up the opportunity again for those Colossi to come out. So It's a tricky decision here to make, but he's looking for free pickings. Any Colossus right now that's within range is certainly going to take a beating.
Yeah, but GunGFuBanDa doing a great job with those. Keeping them very far back, very well defended. Now, interestingly, Spirit did not elect to go for a 3-base all-in. He added a 4th command center, he added an armory, and he added a 2nd engineering bay, and that came at the cost of about 2 rounds of bio production. He continued to build his tech units, but he really powered hard for this transition into a more late game focused setup. So a very interesting play from Spirit. He was setting himself up as though he was going to do a really heavily committed like Ghost Viking bio push, but has given up on that idea. Now is going to go full steam ahead for the late game. But the great news for GunGFuBanDa is that he played really greedy during all this. He went double forge. He got that storm. He got that blink. And his upgrades are all going to come online very soon. And GunGFuBanDa is going to be down an upgrade. This could be actually really scary to deal with, a push right here. If the storms can land, that is a big ask with Ghosts on the field, but if they can manage to find an opening, we could see GunGFuBanDa taking a really great fight.
Absolutely. He's got a pylon over here in the top left-hand corner of the map to maybe do some run-bys. Prism now also joining in the fray. Planetary is going to finish up in about half a minute or so. So that's going to make it so much easier. That dance on the watchtower. That was funky.
That's really funny, Zealot.
Yeah, now these Zealots are, basically dead. But this does open up the front door on the right side to maybe get some damage done over here. He's looking for the right storms, right? So those storms are going to be absolutely pivotal. High Templar, though, also have to be careful. That's 2 EMPs, or even for 1 High Templar. That one is without anything for quite a while. The whole clump.
Huge EMP on the other High Templar, though he does find all of them. That's going to force a recall, but it will lead to both Colossus going down. Spirit finding a massive fight. Now, we do see these Zealots that were in the 4th base. They did run by into the natural and main and got a few SCVs, but that is not enough for how much army GunGfu just lost. The EMPs were so massive on those High Templar to the bottom side of the fight.
You're absolutely right. He has to get something done right now with the army that he has, but I mean, we're talking a near, now 50 supply deficit here. Spirit playing a very nice macro game ultimately. Maybe not the opener he originally had intended. He had to make decisions here that he probably did not necessarily plan for, but look at these landed Vikings right now, man. There's one Dark Templar in the mix, but okay, can we storm him? Storming landed Vikings is a bit of a cursed thing to do, but I mean, you can. Don't lose the Templar, though. No.
Oh!
What? What? Now he could have killed them, no?
Dude, that was the funniest little interaction. Yeah, he could have absolutely killed them.
Oh, we're going to land again.
Now he just re-lands. God, I love StarCraft 2 so much. It is such a fun game sometimes.
That Nexus is actually in so much trouble, though. Spirit has got a 4th base himself for such a long time, and ultimately the Vikings are now sacrificing themselves to kill the 4th base, and we're gonna get 2 Templar. No! Oh my god, that physically hurts. Okay, well, Spirit is now on 4 bases. GunGfu is on 3. Yes, he's got good upgrades, but he is all in. And he needs a disruptor. Hit of a lifetime. He loses both of them. Hello, GunGfu. Hands back on the keyboard, please.
Oof. Now, the scan does miss the Dark Templar, but it ends up wandering into that scan anyways, and there's just no way at this point. It's a 50 army supply lead. GunGfu's got nothing in the tank, and Spirit will fight back in this game and takes it down.
That just spiraled way out of control in those last couple of minutes. I mean, GunGfu was playing a pretty stellar game, and then Spirit just sort of continued doing what he was doing, and he suddenly overwhelmed him. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That big EMP, I guess, on the High Templar started it all, right? And then it just spiraled completely from there.
Yeah, there was the first little interaction of that big army fight was, I think, GunGfu trading 2 feedbacks for 1 EMP. And it was actually quite good for GunGfu. But then another Ghost came in and hit 5 High Templar with the EMP. And then Spirit just took a massive concave on his opponent's army. and was able to take it down. We kind of watched like this funny skirmish on the bottom side, but I feel like Spirit was started just macroing very well behind it. The High Templar that were there fighting the Vikings probably needed to be hitting storms on the main army.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
because they were not hitting storms anywhere. They were just dying to a bunch of landed Vikings, which I mean, as like the main damage dealer in that army at that point, they were certainly not being used at their most efficient in their most efficient way.
Yeah, not so much. But you know, well done by Spirit. That was certainly a game for GunGFuBanDa that was going pretty darn well from the early game. Like, he got the jump on the first units, and I feel like he was in a pretty good spot. But yeah, if you lose that many High Templar, like, that's so much value that got negated by just one EMP. I think it is really difficult to deal with. I also just watched, by the way, on the actual stream, because there's obviously the delay. One of the Vikings landed, and it for like about half a second occupied a gas before it like the pathing corrected and it like moved itself out. That was just funny to see.
I did not quite catch that, but either way, we are going to the map Oceanborn. This is match point already for our Terran player. Top left-hand corner though, playing with the red Protoss pieces. It's GunGFuBanDa. Let's hope he can come back.
And his opponent with some great decisions, excellent execution, and that money EMP. It is Psystorm Gaming Spirit.
Yeah, sometimes when it goes poorly, suddenly everything goes horribly in a game of StarCraft, right? It's like a house of cards, the top layer comes down and then suddenly the entire tower just falls to the ground. That was rough, man. It started with the EMP, then the Colossi ended up going down. The recall was a little late. I think maybe a Stalker was also caught in there. High Templar mispositioned. High Templar ended up dying. Vikings kill a Nexus. Like, they killed a Nexus. We don't normally see Vikings that are landed on the ground kill a base of the Protoss. And then all of the disruptors were move commanded forward. The High Templar once again get EMP'd. I mean, that was rough. I hope if you're a Protoss player, you closed your eyes right there for the last minute of that game, because that was painful.
Yeah, it was certainly not a that was a game to forget for GunGFuBanDa for the last 3 minutes of it. But if he can tidy things up and maybe doesn't have an army that's so reliant on High Templar, because ghosts are very good against High Templar. Like, there is no way around it. Like, maybe let's say instead of going for 5 High Templar in Storm, he just goes for Archons and gets a slightly quicker
ghosts
disruptor
are pretty good
transition.
against those too.
They are, but at least if you like don't research the Storm, you maybe throw down a quicker second Robo, you get faster disruptor transition, or you just don't get the Templar at all and you just go straight into disruptors. Like, things can pan out a lot better for you.
Absolutely. Compliments as well, of course, to Spirit, right? Because he's the one that's ultimately enabling those mistakes from the opponent. Like, he found himself in a really tough position after the early game, losing a lot of stuff and not really achieving all too much with it. Like, remember that first attack through the center of the map when the Adepts basically caught the entire Bio army? Yeah. And Spirit's entire early game buildup was +1 upgrade, right? With combat shields and Stimpack, and that, well, timing was completely thrown out of the window. Then he went for a second starport to try and play catch up there. I mean, that was really well done. Playing it very calmly, very collectively, and then eventually he hit that massive EMP and managed to come back. I mean, I think up to that point, it was a really solid game for GunGFu. And then Spirit, well, he threw that all out of the window.
Yeah, he certainly said, nah, I don't care too much. We are going to be seeing, all right. We're going to be seeing something very interesting here in game number 3. So Spirit, he's up 2-0 already. He starts off with, interestingly, no Reaper. Because, Reapers were very good for him in the first 2 games. I think he got 3 kills, or 2 kills with the first Reaper, 4 kills, almost 5 with the first Reaper in game 2. But now he opens Marine, and it is going to be heavy Cyclone play here.
Yeah, second factory coming up as well. So this is a Terran mech-based army from Spirit. This is one of those builds that's been enabled since the new patch. Basically, the Cyclone has changed quite a bit, and it seems to have enabled some timing attacks that Protoss players have not quite yet figured out. There's a lot of variety in the early game of Terran anyways. Like, there's a lot of different builds that they can open up with. And this is one of those styles that we don't really see that often, and that we don't seem to have quite found the correct answer for yet. Like, there are builds that you accidentally, you know, counter this strategy with. But this looks like it's going to be a 2-gate third base right now. So GunGfu is not really going to have that many troops available. And this is the first time that he sees those Cyclones coming across the map.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit interesting. Blink Stalkers can do very well against Cyclones. And the Stalker count is not too bad. We will see the Hurricane Thrusters upgrade, which is one of the weirdest names for an upgrade we've had in StarCraft 2's history. But it's memorable.
No thrusters,
You can't say it's not memorable. And I mean, that's a really interesting setup, but Spirit, I wonder if he's going to try and play a macro game with this, or if he's just going to go for like a big 2-base committal.
I would be very surprised if he decides to play a macro game with this, to be honest. I mean, no, there's a third command center actually dropping down right now. I mean, he is very committed with it, but we haven't seen that many macro games where Terran Mech works out that well. Although obviously Spirit has always been a fan of playing Terran Mech. Yes. I'm curious to see how this is going to go. So GunGfu sees this coming in from a mile away, but since he has an observer, he's even got 2 observers in this game. There's no Immortal out, and I feel like against this, what you want to have is an Immortal too.
Immortal, yes, but I mean, even just the heavy Blink Stalker play, we can see right there, he snipes down a Cyclone and a Hellion and loses nothing. Like, that was very good for GunGFuBanDa. It's neat as a concept, the Terran Mech play in this matchup, but yeah, it's gonna be tough, I think, to make it happen. Now, Oceanborn is gonna be a map where pushing up into a 3-base Terran will be probably rather difficult. But I don't know.
This is a funky unit composition, right? I mean, again, like the Stalkers alone do really quite well with good control. I mean, this was only a 2-gateway start, but now there are 4 in total. So he's just warping in the reinforcements. That speed upgrade for the Cyclones is nice and all. Maybe the line of sight blocker here is also decent, but that observer helps out so much. Excellently done right there by GunGFuBanDa, shutting this down. And now he starts up that Immortal transition together with charge slots. The main problem, right? Like, you can find yourself in a good situation like this one, but how do you close it out now? Because there's going to be siege tanks sitting there. There's going to be an awful lot of Terran army, and you're essentially pushing into a sieged up position. It is not an easy game to drive home. And yeah, instead GunGfu decides to go for a 4th Nexus.
Yeah, no, I actually like this a lot. I think playing heavy gateways was going to be good. He sees the tanks; they're very exposed. Blinks forward. Wow. He has not yet lost a single Stalker. He has killed so many of these mech units. Finally, 1 Stalker goes down, but this is such a good start. And you asked, how is he going to break this position? Well, vision seems to be the answer. And now a charge lot warping into the main base. That is going to be difficult to deal with. Good positioning from Spirit, but the blink forward at the 3rd base is taking down every Cyclone. And we're going to see GunGFuBanDa put one on the board. Spirit is broken.
Absolutely. This game has been Protoss from start to finish. Now the Immortal shows up as well, mostly just to look cool right here on the left side of your screen, but the Stalker Zealot army is destroying it. One more Zealot here trying to 1v1 a siege tank, and he does end up winning that fight too. The command center itself is in a world of trouble. I mean, I like the attempt here from Spirit, but other than that, this has been a horrible game for him. Yeah, at least the games where we've seen Terran Mech work out, usually it's some sort of 2-base all-in. At least that seems to be the most effective strategy, but playing a macro game and then sort of just driving around the map like you own it, yeah, not quite ideal. Like, just the Blink Stalkers alone were more than enough.
Yeah, this kind of felt like, you know, you had like these Cyclones, speaking of driving around the map, just kind of joyriding around. They're like, yeah, not a care in the world. And then the Stalkers are like actual military units, and they're like, halt, you can't be here. And it's like, oh, yeah, maybe I should build combat units.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Like, the Hurricane Thrusters also did very little, right? So that like gives them the movement speed, but the Stalkers are still plenty fast to blink against it. So I guess if you're gonna build a lot of Cyclones, you yeah, it may as well get that upgrade, but ultimately the Cyclones did very little in this game. Like, the weird part about it is that, like, if a Blink Stalker opener, right, like the one that GunGfu went for, counters your build, and that is the strategy we see in like 50% of Protoss versus Terran games, it just by default doesn't sound like that great of a strategy to me.
I would agree. I don't want to see another mech opener from Spirit in this series.
But then you see guys like Gumiho practice the same thing, and you're like, huh, he's up to something here. Gumi seems to be, yeah, going for some funky timing attacks against Protoss, and somehow he makes it work. But then usually it's with, it's a different style altogether. It's a lot more all-in-y. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and if it was an all-in, I would have been totally on board. But
yeah,
more so than anything, I just don't want to see him do anything different because the standard play has worked out so well for him. And let's see if he can close it out right here. Spawning up at the top right for Psy Storm Gaming. It is the Blue Terran player, Spirit.
And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we're looking at none other than GunGFuBanDa's main Nexus. Okay. Well, Spirit does not want to play a normal game.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a quick engineering bay block here.
Engineering bay, yeah, okay. I thought for a second maybe it wants to be proxying a barracks out on the map, but not quite the case. It's a bit late for that.
I mean, you could technically still proxy a second barracks, but
yeah,
and that is possible. No, it is going to be the engineering bay block.
Yeah.
I would say that it's still not exactly a normal game. If it's Clem, I feel like Clem does this like a third of his TVPs, and it's really annoying. I feel like this is probably one of the best ways to play, like just a macro game with a little bit of a twist, is doing this anywhere from 1/5 to 1/3 of your games as a Terran player. I feel like it's really annoying to deal with as the Protoss, because if they don't check the natural and this gets a lot of HP, it delays the build, forces probes off the line. If they want to take the base, they have to take it at the third base location. It just feels like a good play.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you, especially since Protoss is so build order dependent, right?
Yes.
More so in my mind, at least, than both Terran and Zerg. Protoss usually gets thrown off pretty hard by this. He's just trying to put a little bit more work in. And obviously, he can always cancel this engineering bay as well at the end, and he more than likely will. Super annoying little style. So one of the responses we see from time to time is the Protoss player taking the third base instead, but that is super tricky to play against, and you need a lot of practice. So instead, he decides to just pull a bunch of probes and eventually take his base. Spirit obviously does lose some minerals, plus the opportunity cost as well, which is not to be underestimated, but it's one of those builds where, at least in my mind, you put the Protoss a little bit further behind than yourself. Whereas on paper, I think if you put this like in an Excel spreadsheet, right, and you try to perfect the build, it's probably better not to go for the engineering bay block, but just because it's so annoying and you just throw your opponent off just a little bit, it's something we see all of the time.
Yeah, it really is disruptive, and it comes down to like a little bit of the preference of, would you rather do your own build perfectly, or would you rather disrupt your opponent? And Terran is a race that has many tools that are disruptive. Despite the fact that they don't feel the disruptor, the Liberator, the Widowmine, the Reaper.
They feel disruptors all the time. What do you mean?
Oh, they field them. Yeah, they don't field them, but they certainly field them.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Ah.
No, they feel them very intimately. You know, disruptors, they are
not in the
units that
previous
love
game. To be fair, not in the previous map.
Oh no, not at all.
No, those were donations.
Yeah, yeah. In that case, the disruptors, you know, normally they want to get close with their Novas. In that case, they wanted to just actually hug the Terran Bioforce. So a little bit of a miscommunication from the commander.
Well, one of the ghosts was called Nova, right? So maybe that's why they were like, Nova? Ah, there we go. Let's run on over in that direction, see how it goes. Didn't work out all too well right there for the Protoss, but once again, the good old Blink Stalker start here for GunGfu. Actually, not the previous game. The game before that is when we saw the disruptors. The previous one was so quick that we've already forgotten about it.
Yeah, it was a forgettable game. Now, we do see these Marines. They actually snuck it across the map. The shield battery is not yet done. Stalker is going to be trying to be kept alive. Nice snipe on the Wet Hellion, and good job putting this Stalker kind of on the high ground. Great little surround with the probes. He gets the Hellion. He gets all the units. Wow. That was very well defended by GunGFuBanDa.
I feel like the early game aggression has not been working out for Spirit at all in this series. Like, in any of the games so far, he hasn't really been able to put in that much work in the first few minutes of the game, other than with the Reaper. Like, the first Reapers, they've done a lot of work. Again, not something we've seen in this particular game, but he's been getting a ton of work done with that unit. But other than that, the Marines that come after that, the Hellions, the Cyclones, none of it really too impressive.
No, now the Banshee did just get scouted by the Adept. That is a bit of a mistake from Spirit, to be honest. He didn't need to show that. And what was a huge trump card that basically won him game number 1 has now been revealed a lot earlier on. We've got that robotics facility on the way. It was already being built, but now he can actually just chrono out the Observer and be prepared for it. Because what really hurt GunGFuBanDa in game number 1 was the fact that he didn't know the Banshees were anywhere on the map until they killed 15 probes.
So this time around, Spirit also knows he's been spotted. Okay, maybe the sentry will end up going down. 1 probe taking a bit of damage. Can we kill at least 2? That would be nice. Observer, hello. I feel like it's been producing for ages, man. Generally speaking, it produces so fast and somehow, some way. In a game where you really need it, it takes longer than you would think. So that's 4 probes going down together with a sentry. The Banshee is still at full hit points. Second Banshee now coming in from the right. So even when you do have an Observer available, it still needs to be in the right place at the right time. Spirit going for the early cloak, hoping that his opponent does not see this. And so far, well, I mean, at least there's a shield battery here. So far, okay, second Observer also spawns. It has been unscouted. I mean, considering we've had the counter for the Banshee for a while, this has still been going really well. That's 10 probes now, together with a sentry.
Yeah, the obviously the probes from the early game were killed off for that first push, but this is still some pretty nice value. Now, you definitely want to keep that Banshee alive. He does manage to do so, but this is annoying because when you see that Banshee in the natural, and you should, in theory, in your mind, be prepared for it, but the Observer just pops out a little bit too late. That just feels bad. That's just a brutal feeling. And it wasn't the crippling damage we saw in game number 1, but it was definitely very effective damage. It also hit earlier, so even though it was a few less probes, it still stings. Yeah,
and the Banshees are still around too, so that's still 10 probes, man. That's a very substantial amount. Here's once again that army coming across the map, +1 infantry weapons, combat shield, stim pack, the whole shebang. Suddenly these Marines found a shield in their backpack and like, wait a second. Is that +10 HP I find? Excellent. They're going to be able to get some additional damage done with that on the other side of the map. In the meantime, 3rd Command Center is going to be finishing up as well. Medivacs are coming up. I mean, this is a game where Spirit is cruising, right? I mean, sure, he got scouted early on, maybe a small mistake, but he still, well, turned it into a very nice lead.
Yeah, he certainly has, and it feels like GunGFuBanDa does not see where this army is. He has an Observer that just tracked the Banshee, but this is the first time he's seen the army actually appear on his side of the map. Battery Overcharge is going to get popped, and we'll be able to keep this Colossus alive for a while. Guardian Shield helping out as well, but this is a lot of bio, and the Marines diving the 2 Colossi with the Marauder support. That is both Colossus dead. That is GunGFuBanDa not able to defend this 3rd Nexus. And that might just be the end of the series.
I think so too, man. A nice experimental mech build in game 3. Other than that, Spirit has looked incredibly dominant throughout this series. A little bit of counter-attack damage here. There's 1 probe trying to kill something. Probius, no. All right, maybe doing okay. Well, that's something, but still, we have just such a massive supply lead here for the Terran, and yeah, how in the world do you come back, right? You can remake your 3rd base, and I compliment GunGFu here for hanging in the game. I mean, this is an important match, so you don't want to give up too early. Getting a siege tank is okay. You know what? He's making the best of a very bad scenario.
Yeah, and nice little concave here from Spirit, spreads out as he gets back across the bridge to make sure GunGFu can't do anything more. But, and I do agree with you, this is the last day, or last game of the series. Granted, this isn't his tournament life on the line. He still has a lower bracket if he loses this, but why not play it out? What does it actually cost you? Nothing. You're not playing any more competitive matches today. This is it. So, you know, maybe Spirit makes a huge blunder. Maybe he runs into 2 big disruptor shots and GunGFuBanDa finds a way to come back in this game. It is going to take a pretty massive blunder or a series of rather you know, small to mid blunders to let GunGFuBanDa come back. But yeah, play it out. See what happens.
Absolutely. No, we see it happen all the time. But this is certainly now Spirit's game to lose. And
Yes.
I feel like in the past, Spirit would now be putting down a command center, and then another command center, and then another command center, and then eventually would win in about 30 minutes from now. He's maneuvering around the map a lot more aggressively here, and I do think that's the right call, because it lowers the chances of, for example, one of those disruptors getting so much damage done. Speaking of which, though, the first disruptor right now is coming up. We have a couple SCVs going down on the other side of the map, but reinforcing Terran units have been able to make short work of it. Okay, there's the disruptor hanging out in the back of this army. Nice kiting right here, though, by the Terran player. I mean, getting one disruptor, or sorry, one Widowmine, not quite what you're hoping for.
No, he needs a hell of a lot more than that. But obviously, if Spirit doesn't give it to him, you can't just force your opponent to run into your disruptors. If you could, well, that would be a very different game. And I think we're talking about, you know, controlling people literally outside of the video game, which is even a more problematic matter. But we do see a rotation up to the retake in third base, and GunGFuBanDa did not see it coming, so he loses the shield battery right away.
EMP?
Spirit.
Yeah, big EMP as well, softening up a lot of those stalkers. Now the Nexus is in a world of trouble too. Spirit pouring salt in the wound at this point. Disruptor, okay, getting a decent hit, but also grabbing one of those Zealot kills. That's the Nexus going down, and I mean, maybe he can push back this army, but there's a massive amount of Terran reinforcements on the back of this.
Yeah, and the main thing right now, GunGFuBanDa needs to clean this up before the reinforcements show up. And he needs to make sure that Spirit somehow doesn't find that he took another base on the left
Yeah.
side. And
it's in an awkward spot now, right?
Yeah, like GunGFuBanDa does survive off the back of that disruptor shot. Like that killed maybe 8 or 10 supply of the Terran, and it does mean that Spirit has to chill out for a little bit. But GunGFuBanDa is still super far on the back foot. He's not out of it.
No.
And there's no 2-2 just yet on the way for Spirit. Like Spirit is not... He's not shutting the door as effectively as maybe we'd like to see in this game number 4, but he's still very much in a good position.
Yeah, so now he finally fires up +2. I was going to bring up the same thing. He could have started that one up quite a while ago. GunGfu, I mean, just a few moments ago, he was in a really bad position where it looked like he was down and out, and this is by no means looking great for him, but it's looking a lot better than a few minutes ago, right? If you compare the two spots. Still an uphill battle for him, but another disruptor hit or two, and he is certainly back in this game. Spirit, yeah, decides to play this a little bit more safely right now. Plants down another command center, decides to just build up his army once again, but now the upgrades really are quite late.
They are, and I am so confused by those 2 missile turrets out front of the third base. What could those possibly be for, other than like carriers?
They look cool. They look cool.
They look cool. It's, you know what? Spirit just wanted more guys on the map, and he said there's a guy in the missile turret. It doesn't cost supply. Don't tell anyone. But
he's the commanding officer of the party, man. You're not giving enough credit right there to the missile turret guy. He's observing the whole battlefield.
Okay.
See? Without the missile turret guy telling him that the disruptor was coming. There was a chance. Is there enough, though, here for Protoss to hold on again to another one of these relentless Terran attacks? Battery overcharge has been used over at the newly made third base. Colossus stays alive for now, but now the natural is wide open. Spirit is saying, come and fight me right over here, but he is zoning this army perfectly. He wants to fight it into a concave, and this is all of the robo production getting shut down right now.
No, oh, the commander gets saved. No, the last zealot. Oh, repair it. You got to save your commander. That's an order. That's an order, soldier. We are
I had my camera on the fight over here. Sorry, I was focused on the unimportant stuff. Yeah, ultimately, GunGfu here is losing all of his important units, and Spirit just has way too much of an army. This is before 2-2 is done, but he is smelling blood right now. He wants to finish up this game right here, right now. That's that base falling for falling here for like the 4th time.
Yeah, and that one hidden base that was unscouted for a while and did kind of keep GunGFuBanDa in this game for a little bit. It's been found now. Even though the medevacs are out of energy, it does not matter. Spirit will take the game and the series.